Hello, everyone. This is Matt with the Patriot Party. And today we have a very special show. We are doing a live interview with Bart Merrell. You guys and gals can expect a very educational discussion on identifying your ideal side hustle, creating financial security by monetizing what you already know or do. And I don't know about you, but with the cost of living these days, Lord, we all need a side hustle. So, without any further delay, I would like to give a warm welcome to Bart Merrell. So, Mr. Merrell, your short self description is international entrepreneur, author, and presenter of Monetize Your Mindset. Can you please take us on a life journey as to how each of these titles pertains to you?
Yeah, so it kind of starts like this. My life's goal, my dream, what I was going to do was I was going to get in the FBI and chase serial killers.
Wow.
So I didn't intend to go down the side hustle option in life. I had one quarter left at school. I was studying accounting because that was the easiest way in. And if you go in accounting, you don't have to stay there. You can apply to different openings. And if you get the job, you get the job. It doesn't matter what you studied. And so that was my goal. I was going to go in through accounting and go over here to chasing serial killers.
Now, let me ask you this real quick because, the way my mind works, if I get something in there, if I don't ask you, I'll forget. So if
Okay.
you went in with accounting, would you go in as like an analyst?
It would be a white collar crime, white collar work.
Okay, cool. All right, go on with your story. I don't mean to interrupt. I just have to, or I won't remember.
No worries. And to be honest, I wasn't good at that. I wasn't good at accounting. I didn't like accounting. It was just a means to an end.
Absolutely.
I had one quarter left at school. I went home to help dad on the farm in southern New Mexico, where I would improve my Spanish and improve my Spanish speaking capabilities because the FBI looks at that kind of stuff. And then I went back up to school. Well, while I was down there, I had friends that were in customs, in border patrol, in the just regular police force that were getting this new surgery done on their eyes called RK. This is before LASIK. And I had money in Podunk, New Mexico, burning holes in my pocket. So I decided, hey, I got money. Let's get it done. I got it done. I went from 2160 and 2200 to 2020 and 2025. I didn't have glasses again until I was like 51.
That's crazy. I had LASIK, and I was legally blind before I had it.
Yeah, and so it fixed my problem.
Oh, absolutely.
But I got up to school and started the application process to the FBI, and I found out that automatically disqualifies you from the FBI.
If you had surgery to fix it?
If you had that, this RK was still considered experimental.
Oh.
And they didn't want to put a bunch of money into you and then you go blind.
Oh, okay.
And so they wouldn't let you. It was kind of funny. I heard you could get it done after you got in, but not before.
Oh.
I was devastated. I was doing a part-time job landscaping that was my part-time job during college. And I was just like, man, what am I going to do? I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to count other people's money. And I was hanging out there and a buddy of mine said, hey, do you want to go back to Japan? He was just joking because I'd spent a couple of years in Japan. And so I spoke the Japanese language. And I was like, I thought about it for a second. He was joking. I said, yes, I do. I'll go. And he's like, wait. And his company that he worked for had sold a bungee jump tower in Japan. And I was big into an adrenaline junkie stuff. I love that kind of stuff. And I said, yes, I'll do it. I'll learn how to be a bungee jump master.
What year was this?
This was 94.
So bungee jumping was kind of new back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just in the boom. It was in the big boom.
Okay, so the beginning of the bubble.
And so I took the first commercial bungee jump to Japan. I trained their staff. I spent like 6 months over there working and making things ever go well. And then the next year we did another 5 bungee jump towers in Japan. And I trained a lot of their staff and did a lot of the press release and had a great time. And then the next year, the company that I worked for or worked with in Japan that bought these bungee towers, they called me up and they said, "Hey, we saw this thing. It's a big swing thing. We want you to go try it and tell us what you think." And so it's called the Sky Coaster in America. They're in all the big parks,
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
And so they paid me $2,500 to go down and try it. So I grabbed my girlfriend. We ran down to the park and I tried it. I said I liked it. So the next year we took that to Japan.
Wow.
And then several years, and I would continue going back and forth to Japan, just doing these things. And that's kind of how things started.
How many years did you go back and forth to Japan?
From 94 to 2000, when I got married. I actually married a Japanese lady that I met at the gym over there.
Oh, really?
And when I got married, she said, maybe you should calm down and quit doing stupid stuff.
Daggone it.
and so that's kind of when I started slowing down a little bit. But right before that, the Japanese company called me again. This was probably in 97. And they said, "Hey, we saw this thing on TV in Germany. It's a complete unattached free fall into a net from about 150 feet in the air. We want you to go try it." I'm just like, 150 feet free fall into a net? That's got to hurt. Oh, God, yeah, that's why we want you to go try it.
Oh, man.
And anyway, I called Germany. They said, "No, it's just for stuntmen right now. We'll call you when it's ready for the public." I thought I would never hear from them. 2 months later, I got a call from them. "Okay, we're ready for you. Come on over." A couple of weeks later, I was on a plane to Hamburg, Germany. I stayed there for a couple of days, got dropped 4 times, and then I was on my road to Japan. I sold 3 of them in Japan, and I built 2 of them here in the United States, and just had a good old time doing that type of stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's kind of how things started.
Okay. And that's kind of where the title international entrepreneur comes from.
Yeah. So then I was like I said, I met my wife at the gym. Well, I also met an important business partner at the gym.
Okay.
I was there. I'm pretty big. I'm 6'4". At that time I was probably around 230. And so I'm this big gringo, or in Japanese, we call it a gaijin. Okay. I'm the big gaijin at the gym. And only the staff would say boo to me. No one else would even talk to me. And about 2 weeks in, this guy comes up to me. He goes, "Hello." And I just kind of said, "Hello." And I started speaking to him in Japanese. He's like, "Whew, I'm glad you speak Japanese, because I was done at hello." Anyway, he was a big rig driver over there. Great driver, man. The big rig drivers here in the U.S. suck compared to big rig drivers in Japan, because the roads are so much smaller and they have to work in so much more confined space. But anyway, he says, "I want to quit driving truck and start importing camping trailers and Ford and Dodge diesel pickups to Japan. Will you help me?" I had no idea how to do that, but I said yes. He had no idea how to do it, and he says, "Let's do it." And so we've been business partners ever since. That was in 97. We started that. And so we do exports to Japan.
I love foreign business partners. I absolutely love them. I'm actually a serial entrepreneur. Been one for 25 years. Opened my first brick and mortar when I was a sophomore in college, behind the register doing college homework. I love entrepreneurship. I've loved it my whole life. So I can, and I love having foreign business partners. They're better than American business partners by far.
Yeah, and Japanese are very trustworthy. We trust each other. Like, we trust each other with everything. He sends me money. I send him money. I ship trailers, parts, everything over to him. He handles it. Oh. So we've had a great partnership for how many years now? What's that? 30 years, almost 30 years. It'll be 30 years in 27. So yeah, that's kind of how things started.
So that was international. So what about this author? What are you writing? What have you written?
So I grew up on a pig farm in southern New Mexico. But But Dad wasn't just a farmer, he was an entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
He owned part of it, and it was all in the agriculture industry because that's what he loved.
Okay.
He was part owner in a dairy in Idaho, part owner in a mushroom plant in Utah where they grew mushrooms in the dark. Part owner in a onion, it was called the onion warehouse, where they would bring produce from Mexico and then they would distribute it to the different grocery stores. And so he had his hands in many things. And when all this went to pot, when I found out I wasn't going to get my life dream of chasing serial killers, I kind of reverted back to what Dad taught me, not by sitting me down and telling me the birds and the bees of business. He showed me with his actions and everything that he was doing. And he actually encouraged me. I started my first side hustle at age 15. When I was 11, I bought this stereo because I loved music. I loved to listen to music.
Okay.
And I bought my first stereo at 11. I saved up all summer working at the pig farm. $285 for a Sanyo all-in-one system.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it had a cassette player over here. You're probably not even old enough to know what was on the other side.
What, like an 8-track or something?
An 8-track player, absolutely. On the top, you could spin the records and had the radio in the middle. Oh man, I would crank that thing in my bedroom and just have a good old time.
Those were going out when I was coming in. So,
and what I had bought is I'd bought a liability, because every time we went to town, I had to buy the new tunes.
Yeah.
And for an 11-year-old kid, that was pretty spendy.
Oh, absolutely. Buying it yourself was pretty spendy too.
And then when I got my driver's license at age 15, I started my mobile disco business where I'd go do dances. The problem was, in my town, small town in southern New Mexico, nobody was hiring 15-year-old DJs. So I had to create my own opportunity. I would rent the community center, hire an off-duty cop. Mom and Dad took money at the door. I spun records. Everybody had a good time.
So basically, like, you're kind of like the granddaddy of raves. You're the creator of like the parties, back then. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean.
Well, I do think someone in the community at one time said that I was having drunken brawls at the community center.
Oh my goodness.
I don't ever remember having a drunken brawl. There could have been fights outside that I didn't know about, but there was nothing going on inside. But yes.
Well, I mean, that's very intuitive. I mean, but you created your own opportunity.
Yeah,
that's great.
As a 15-year-old kid, I was making $600-700 a night for 4 hours. And half of that was nobody was there until the party got started.
I mean, that's 150 to 175 an hour, even by today's standards. That's lawyers getting out of law school money. Even in Louisiana, in our part, that's lawyers with 10 years experience money. That's good money. I mean, even by today's standards, you were doing good back then.
And so I did that through college, and that was, my dad encouraged me. He helped me. He may have even funded part of things like a trailer to haul my equipment around in. So my car back then was a 1971 Ford LTD 2-door. I mean, that thing was long, that hood, you couldn't even see the end of the hood.
I'm sure the way he looked at it was it was an investment. He wasn't funding it. It was an investment.
and so we had a trailer hitch on it, and I would haul my little utility trailer places and set up and do dances. It was a good side business all through
absolutely.
College.
And I mean, look how much experience you had. You started at 11, right?
Well, that's when I bought my stereo.
Well, I mean, that's when you kind of started getting into the music, so you could count that as experience.
Yeah, I played for myself. I played it for myself often.
Yeah, so I mean, you had by the time you were in college, you had 7-8 years experience.
Yeah, and it was a blast. I really loved it. I had a good time, and then I actually even sold my half of the business to a business partner I brought in during when in the not in the beginning, but shortly after the beginning, and he still does it. He still
Really?
has a business that does that as one of his side businesses.
That's pretty cool.
I grew up. He didn't. Well, I pretend I grew up. He probably grew up more than I did, but I still play a lot. But anyway, that's how it kind of started. Dad just encouraged me, helped me along the way. When things went bad, when I found out I wasn't going to make it, I fell back on what Dad did. I just, the opportunity came. I often look back on my life and I say I was lucky. But Seneca says luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. But then you have to take action. You can't just have a meet and do nothing. You have to do something about it.
We'll see. Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So that's what I did. The opportunity to go back to Japan to do a bungee jump thing, it came. I said yes. 2 months later, I was in Japan pushing little Japanese people off the top of a tower.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I wasn't pushing. I was
helping them along.
Kindly assisting.
I got pushed out of the plane. I don't like heights, and I've never bungee jumped, but I went. My ex-wife on our honeymoon talked me into. She got me wind up, and then she talked me into skydiving at 14,000 feet up. They pushed me out of the plane. I wasn't going to go on my own. But what I was going to say is you really said a lot in a statement that you made, because what a lot of people have to realize is, opportunity knocks, and a lot of people are very fearful to answer because they get complacent. They get complacent in their lives, and they're scared of change. They're scared to step out of, and take a risk. They're scared to open that door and see what's on the other side. Go ahead.
And I have a perfect example. So in '94, when I went to Japan, I saw these big nets all over the place in Japan, and it was called F1 Golf. And it was a driving range like you see now in America, but this is back in '94. You didn't see those. Okay. And I went, and it was amazing. I mean, you go in there and you buy this card that you stick in a machine, and that card is full of how many balls you can use. So 100, 500, 1,000, whatever. You can different sizes of cards. You buy that, you stick it in the machine. The ball comes up out of the ground on a tee already. You can adjust the height of a tee with the machine, and you just swing and you swing. The ball goes away, the ball goes down, or the tee goes back down, comes up with another ball. You can hit those as fast as you can. And you're swinging, bam, bam, bam. And all of a sudden your card runs out and you're like, what?
Where are you, on a course? Where are you hitting them from?
No, it's a driving range. It's like Top Golf.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
like
not a
Top
golfer, so
today.
I don't know. I'm trying to imagine this. I'm thinking, where are you hitting them off the top of buildings? And they're catching them in a net.
And these things are triple deckers. So you have 3 decks of driving tees. And they're full of people just hit, and I'm looking at this. I'm like, man, this is a money-making machine. Before you know it, you've ran through $100 of balls, and you have to go buy another card.
And it's addicting, probably.
Oh yeah. And I said, okay, I got to take this to America. How do I do this? But I was a 24-year-old kid, and there was just too many numbers on the back of the number to take that to America.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking 10 times what it cost for the bungee tower. And I was just like, oh, what if I had opened that door? What if I had had enough guts to open that door and walk through?
Did it ever run through your mind to do, venture capitalist or anything?
At that time, I didn't have, I had rich friends in Japan that I could get money from. It was just still too many zeros.
Yeah.
For me at 24, coming from Podunk, New Mexico.
Yeah. You didn't have the experience to go in and say, look, I've opened this many successful companies. You didn't have the resume to back up saying, I need this many zeros. I understand.
And in my head, it was just too big that I still wanted to do it, but I didn't have enough gumption to take action. And I look back on it now and I go, wow, what difference that could have made. Not that I hate my life now, because I like my life. I like what I do. But man, that could have been a lot of zeros in income as well.
Well, too, though, without that experience, I have learned that anytime you step, and I learned the hard way, actually. Anytime you step into a business, if you don't have the experience, the business experience, you probably needed to put an extra zero on what you thought it was going to take. Because everything,
Probably.
whatever can go wrong, will go wrong. I forget
Yeah.
whose law that is, Morton's law, what Newton's law, whoever's law that is. There's a law that says whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and that is especially true in business. You know,
Yep.
whatever can pop up does pop up, and it's usually at least double. And if you're talking about a food driven business, triple what your original budget is.
And so I can tell you another one there. So there is a Japanese food place that I love. It's Japanese curry, and it's called Koko Ichiban Curry. And the first place I go when I land in Japan is Koko Ichiban Curry. Last place I go when I leave Japan is Koko Ichiban Curry. And I was like, oh, I would like to do that here. And I actually had the backing. A guy said, I'll back you. And I says, well, what kind of terms do you want? And he says, if it makes money, we split the profits. And he gave me a percentage. I don't remember what the exact percentage was, but it was very reasonable. He says, if it fails, don't worry about it. And I'm just like, what? Yeah, if it fails, don't worry about it. I actually had to check with other Japanese friends of mine and talk about the conversation to make sure what he said
Was what
was
you were
what I
hearing?
heard,
Yeah.
or was there a different meaning in Japanese that I'm missing? Anyway, I got back to the States and I started doing some research and started looking at things. And in my head, I just said, food business is tough. You got to work hard, and I don't think I want to work that hard.
Well, I'll tell you, just FYI, the FDA is easy to deal with. The USDA is a monster to try to deal with because you've got so many people that are so many businesses that are entrenched that if you're a small business trying to come up, they'll try to squeeze you out. I mean, and they've got friends within the government agencies. It is so hard. But the
Yeah.
FDA, I mean, it's a breeze. I mean, literally, you fill out some paperwork, they come do a walkthrough, and it's done. But the USDA, they got to have their own office with a file cabinet with a government lock on it, with an agent there who's looking over a machine. That if he doesn't like something, he puts a red tag on it, and if you work over that red tag, you're getting a $10,000 fine. I mean, it's awful, absolutely
Yeah.
awful.
And so I just decided I didn't want to work that hard. And so I turned it down.
No, I
But,
understand.
but that's one thing when you're starting a business, when you're starting a side hustle, you need to think about that. Everybody thinks they want to be like Bezos or Zuckerberg or all these people, but Cuban, Musk, these guys slept on other people's beds or couches for a lot of their first part of their life, and some of them still sleep at the office. Is that the life you want? So
It's
when
got
you're looking at these things, you need to look at that. Are you creating something that is going to be the life you want?
there's got to be a balance, the yin and the yang. I think that's Japanese.
Yeah.
It's Chinese, Japanese. The yin and the yang. It's got to be a balance there. You can't
Yeah.
be all one or the other. You're absolutely right when you say that. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
If you want to have a family, if you want to have children, you've got to have a balance.
Yeah. And I think you asked me about my book and we went on this really tangent.
It's okay. It's okay.
And so getting back to my book, I was, this is something that my dad has just showed me by example. I mean, like I said, he never set me down and said, let's talk about the birds and the bees of business. He just showed me by example. And I was volunteering at an inpatient drug rehab center,
Okay.
teaching them how to speak, teaching them public speaking, how to tell their story.
Okay.
And as I was sitting there, I was listening to Jen tell her story. And she talked about how when she was growing up, her and her family would go out and about and everybody was normal. The abuse and the neglect didn't happen until they were back at home. And so in her mind, everybody else that was out and about, when they went back and got back at home, the abuse and the neglect was happening.
Okay.
It wasn't until she went to college that she found out things were different for other people.
Absolutely. Okay.
And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, it's the same way with the way you think about business. And so if you didn't grow up with my dad or someone like my dad, you don't think like I do. And so that's when I started to write a book, Monetize Your Mindset. And it's not a what to do book, it's a how to think book. Because anything that crosses my path, I think, how can I monetize that? Now, I don't monetize everything, but everything that passes by my desk, my life, whatever, good, bad, or ugly, I always think, can I monetize it? Or how can I monetize it? I'll give you a quick example on the bad. So I don't know if you ran into anything about me losing my leg last year.
No, you're actually. I've got this whole interview, planned out, and we're gonna have to kind of go ad lib here because you're touching down into little parts of like every little bit of it here. But we'll work with what we got. No, I do want to hear about it. You go ahead. We're gonna just kind of let it flow where it goes. It goes, and
Okay.
I'll kind of go through it and see what we've touched down on as we go through it because you are actually kind of over here with and you're touching down on a lot of pieces that I was already going to ask you. So no, you go where you go. I want it to
Okay.
flow naturally. So no, I read something about your YouTube channel, but there was nothing in there that I saw in your description that said anything I thought it was something you were doing as a charitable thing. I didn't know that it actually happened to you. So
Yeah.
please, carry us through this. What has happened to you.
So March 25th of last year,
Okay.
I had to have my lower left leg amputated.
Okay.
How did it happen? I didn't listen to my wife.
Okay.
So all you men out there that are married, listen to your wife. She knows what she's talking about.
Okay.
Back in 2012, I went to a personal development retreat. It was in the mountains in Canada.
Okay.
And about a month before, this was already paid for, planned, plane tickets, everything was set up. I was leaving in a month. My
Okay.
wife comes out of her office. She's big into feng shui. And she says, it's a bad direction. You can't go. I'm like, what? You can't go to Canada. It's a bad direction.
I don't think I'd listen.
I can't live my life on your feng shui. She protests a second and goes back in her office. And then she comes back out a few minutes later. She says, no, this is a horrible direction. This could affect you for the rest of your life.
Oh my God, this is like like is this feng shui or was she like a little psychic here? I mean, this is this
It's
is.
from her feng shui. It's from what she researched. And she said it was a horrible direction.
See,
And
I
it
thought
could,
feng shui, like you're teaching me something because I thought feng shui was like the flow of how you have your house set up. I didn't know it was like the flow, like a life flow.
yes, it's the direction from your house. And this was a horrible direction from my house.
Okay.
And I didn't listen, and I went. On the last day, I was dropped from a ropes course.
Okay.
The belayer yelled up, okay, just lean back and let go. And I'm like, okay. And I leaned back and let go, and I went, zzz, landed on my ankle. It was 2 bus rides and a plane ride home the next day before I got home. And by the time I got home, my ankle was swollen clear to my knee, and I was running 102-degree fever.
So you had broken a bone in there or two, shattered
Well,
something.
and the doctor x-rayed it the next day and said, no, it's not broken. It's just a bad sprain. This is the worst pain I have felt in my life. And he said, no, it's just a bad sprain. And I'm like, okay, you're the doctor. And I didn't ask questions. Being a tough cowboy from New Mexico, I just,
Now, was this a regular
okay.
doctor or an orthopedic?
This was just my family physician,
Mm.
but it was read by a radiologist.
Mm.
The thing was read by a radiologist.
Yeah.
Long story short, a few years later, it was 9 years later, I found out that it was actually crushed on the back and the front. And the only thing that could be done is whenever the pain gets bad enough, you can get it fused. Now, once
Okay.
again, being a tough cowboy from New Mexico, I don't like pain, but I can deal with a lot of pain.
No, I can't. I have a very high pain threshold as well. Go ahead.
So 2023, this is in October. I go to the orthopedic surgeon and I say, okay, it's time. I just can't take this anymore. It's time. The radiologist couldn't even, they're not supposed to tell you anything, but he took the first picture and he goes, damn, you don't have an ankle bone. And so my ankle bone had just been ground and ground away over the 12 years. And doc said, you're only, other than a wheelchair, your only option is amputation.
Oh my God. But now, do you have a prosthetic? Is it like, I know they have come a long way with prosthetics that link into your nervous system and stuff. Do you have one of those?
No, no, I just have a regular prosthetic. I mean, I'm actually trying a pretty good one on a new foot that I just got yesterday. I'm trying it to see if I want it.
Okay.
But the orthopedic surgeon, he says you're going to have a better quality of life than you've had for 12 years. And that's exactly what happened. Once I got my, I mean, one of my claims to stupid fame is jumping off a bungee tower, just hanging on to the cord. It wasn't attached. I just jumped off hanging on with my bare hands. Walking through the hospital doors that morning to get my leg cut off was the most terrifying thing I've ever done.
I mean, that sounds very terrifying. I've done some terrifying stuff. That's very. I mean, my God, that's very terrifying.
I mean, I felt like a death row inmate. I would be walking in, but I wouldn't be walking out.
No,
Well,
no.
that's a little bit of exaggeration. I'm
No,
not
that's
going to
not an
die.
exaggeration. I mean, if you tried to walk out, you would tip over. That's not an exaggeration. I mean,
But
back in the
my
pirate days, you'd have to have a peg leg. That's not an exaggeration. You're not exaggerating.
and so anyway, when I found out this was going to happen, obviously my first thought was shock and awe. How bad is this going to hurt? How long? How long am I going to be off my feet or off my foot after it gets cut off? How long until I'm going to get back to somewhat normal? But the second thought was, okay, we can't afford this. So I was worried about finances. How can I afford this? But because of my multiple streams of income that was happening, the pressure was less than it would have been several years ago with just one stream of income.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Absolutely. You want to have, a
Yeah.
lot of different. Yeah, absolutely.
But my main source of income was dog training. It's one of my big side hustles is I train dogs. And it's hard
I need your help. I got I got some outrageous dogs. Okay. So,
and and
okay.
so and so I was going to be out of work for who knows how long. Okay? But then after all that shock and awe was over, my next thought was, okay, I don't like this. It's going to happen. I don't know exactly how it's going to go down, but how can I monetize this? So 6 months, this was in November of 2023. It didn't happen. I didn't get it cut off until March of 2024. I had all this time and I'm thinking, okay, I got to monetize this. How am I going to monetize this? 6 months post-op, I contracted with my prosthetist to help people go through what they're going to have to go through that I went through. And so I monetized getting my leg chopped off. So when life gives you lemons, when life hands you lemons, what are you supposed to do?
You make lemonade. By gosh, you make lemonade.
No. Well, yes, you do make lemonade, but
You
you
look for the
build a
silver
lemonade
lining.
stand. You build a lemonade stand and sell the stuff. And that's what I do. That's what I teach people to do. That's what I help people to do. But it's more about the thinking process. I don't know everything. I can't know everything. I help people recognize the stuff that they are experts in, the things that is unique to their life, and help them think about, okay, what can I do that I know that I'm already doing, that I like to do, that I need to do, that I'm already doing, that I can monetize 1, 2, or 3 of those things to create the financial security to help for whatever happens, when what happens, when life happens.
Absolutely. And you know what they say? If you love what you do, you never have to work another day in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I actually just look at it from a different perspective, but we're kind of on the same plane. Me being an entrepreneur for so long, and I actually, I got my degree in something completely else. I'm in exercise physiology, nutrition, I went down that path, training athletes, and then opened up my own gym. It was one of my businesses. But, um, you know, uh, I look at every decision as a business decision. That's how I run it through at every life decision, relationships, everything. And if it's a smart business decision, it's a smart life decision.
Yeah.
That's how I've always looked at every decision, not necessarily to monetize it. Now I look at every opportunity and I try to turn anything I can into an opportunity, because a lot of times, even if it's a business it's already out there, because second, third, fourth, fifth generation businesses are the best businesses, because you can learn from the mistakes of the prior businesses and have a stronger business. So I
Yeah.
don't necessarily monetize everything I look at, but I do look at everything from a business sense. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I don't monetize everything either. I just think,
Is there a possibility?
can I
Yes,
monetize it? And then
absolutely.
I take it down the path of the business decisions that you're talking about. Is it a good idea? Is it a good business? Is it viable? And that's what I talk about in my book. It's not a to-do list. We're not creating a to-do list necessarily. I'm just showing you different opportunities that people have monetized, from bees to uh, fear. I mean, I monetized bungee jumping
So it,
to
it, it basically helps people step out and look at different perspectives. Look at
yeah,
things from a
and
different perspective.
it's a memory jogger. The book is a memory jogger that helps them think about, oh, well, maybe this is just a version here. It just helps people think about the things that they have done that they could possibly monetize.
So let me ask you this. Now, maybe I'm way off here, but because I'm just picking up bits and pieces. But so the book tells stories about what other people have monetized. Am I right?
Correct.
So it's kind of like a monetization memoir.
Yeah, and then we go through different things on money, on not overlooking. I might close with this story, but not overlooking opportunities that are right there. Being aware of your surroundings and picking up on those. It just takes you down these different steps, and we have one for a chapter on that I call "Momatize It," where we talk about different female entrepreneurs and the things that they have monetized, from nail wraps to piano lessons to calligraphy to just
Wow, and there's a lot of opportunities for female and minority business owners out there that are just
yeah,
waiting. I mean, there's a lot of money to be had, a lot of different loans that are available that may not be available to you and I, but they're available to them. So, I definitely encourage that.
yeah.
And I want to make sure I'm going to say this now. Um, when this interview is over, I want to talk to you about your YouTube stuff, because I think I've got some very good advice to be able to give you towards your channels, because
Sounds
I've,
great.
I've I've got a lot of experience with YouTube, so I do want to talk to you about that. But we'll
Sounds
do
great.
that once we're done with our audience.
Awesome.
Too
Thanks.
technical for them; it'll put them asleep. Okay, so go on. I'm like I said, I'm gonna let this show flow kind of where it goes, because my whole script is kind of out the window.
Okay, so a lot of people will ask me, how do I do it? What do I do to help people? And I take them. We ask, what do you like to do? What do you need to do? What are you already doing? Make a list. I want you to make a list of those three things.
Okay,
Don't think about, this is an unfiltered list, not, oh, can I monetize it or not? We'll go into that later.
absolutely.
Then you make another list of, what would you like to learn? What do you need to learn? What have you already learned that you could share with someone else and get compensated for? And we make these 6 lists, then we filter them into 2 lists. What do you like to do the most? And what do you think you can turn into a stream of income the quickest? And then we're doing 6 lists into both those lists. All of those ideas go into both lists, and whatever ones float to the top of those two lists are probably what you should try first.
Now, let me ask you this: the way that you're describing this, because there's a bit of quite a few lists going on. The links that I'm putting on the description of this episode to your YouTube channels and stuff, do you go into a little bit more detail where people can go listen, kind of pause, write things down? I know they can do that with this episode, but do you also make that available on your channels as well?
So I will be doing a different webinars that
Okay.
will share that. The link that I've shared with you is 25 successful side hustle ideas for 2025. And what that is once again, it's a memory jogger.
Okay.
It just and to be honest, there's more than 25 ideas on that list
Okay.
because I've grouped some of the things into categories because I just had so many things I wanted to put on that list. There's so many ideas out there that all I want is people to start thinking, oh, maybe it's not exactly what they were looking for, but it's going to trigger an idea. A quick example: a friend of mine, she's a school bus driver here in Utah,
Okay.
and she wanted to do a side business of a party bus. She
Oh,
wanted to
absolutely.
buy this big limousine bus and take people to jazz games or concerts or whatever, where people don't have to worry about driving. They get shuttled up there to the place, dropped off right in front. They get picked up and then taken home or wherever they want to be taken. And that's what she was wanting to do. That was her idea. And we were talking things through. And so I'm taking her down this process. And she comes on the next webinar that we're doing together. And she's just, I had a great idea last night in my sleep. And I said, what? And she's like, I have my CDL. If I have a bus that is my bus, I can do the drive testing for CDL drivers just getting their driver's license. And she doesn't even have to do marketing for that, because when you go in to take the written test for the CDL, the DMV hands you a list of all the people doing that.
She can
And
do that
so,
during the day, and then the bus at night. Because let me just give you this idea to give to her. I'm originally from North Carolina, and I lived a large part of my life in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's a
uh-huh,
big city. And they had something called the Tux bus, and it was painted like a giant tuxedo with a bow tie on it.
uh-huh,
And it would take you, like, they would, you could rent it for any kind of event, but a lot of people rented it for weddings, where they would take the wedding party downtown to the
yeah,
pubs and the bars, or you could rent it for like black tie events, or any event. But it was called the Tux Bus, and
yeah,
it kind of set it apart from anything else because it looked like a giant tuxedo. So she could do the CDL drivers during the day as a side hustle to the side hustle,
right.
and get both.
Yeah. And that's exactly what she's like, it cost me, I can't remember what she said. So she had to go take a test to get the instructor license, and it was minimal cost to do that. And she would make a couple $100 a pop for taking someone for a ride in her bus for an hour, or letting them take her for a ride. And so and that, I didn't come up with that idea. I triggered the brain
Oh,
of
absolutely.
her, and she came up with the idea herself. And that's what my whole focus is around. I don't have an agenda of what I want you to do.
You want to help people.
I'm not trying to get you to join my network marketing company and make me money. I'm not trying to get you to sell my stuff. I'm just trying to get you to your life experiences and have you come up with your own ideas, and then we start trying them. And if you need a Google Ads guy, I'm not your guy, but I know a guy.
Yeah.
If you need a website guy, I'm not your guy, but I know a guy. I can point you in the right directions.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I do, and how I help people. And I think everybody needs a side hustle. Like you were saying in the open here, with the cost of living
Oh
today
my
and with
gosh.
all that's going on, it doesn't hurt to have a little extra cash in the pot, you
Whether
know?
they work or they don't, tariffs have hit me already. I mean, me and my fiance, she's getting ready to graduate her nurse with her nurse practitioner's license, and or certificate license, whatever it is. Anyway, and after that, we're getting married, and so I was buying her wedding dress. And she was so excited because we went under what we had thought that it was going to cost. We had a range, not what we could spend because I told her to get what she wanted, but what we thought it was going to be. So she calls me, she went to try it on. She found the one she wanted. She calls me. She's like, it's going to be less than what we thought. So I get on the phone to, give the card number to the woman. And she's like, okay, so it's this. And then, but I got to put a 25% tariff on it, which made it go to the top end of what we had done. And then we were talking to one of our friends, and he's like, yeah, I went to go get tires on my truck. And they told me if I'd have gotten them last week, they'd have been $700 cheaper because of the tariffs.
Wow.
And, whether they work or they don't work, I don't know. That's a debate for somewhere else. But right now, they're adding costs to a lot of different businesses. So,
Yeah.
cost of living is going up. And so
Yeah.
side hustles, everybody needs a side hustle.
Yep.
And the thing is that what you're saying is brilliant because the best ideas, like I have an idea, but then I'll go discuss that idea with a few really smart people I know, and I've had the benefit of knowing some very very successful people, and maybe training them in the gym and being able to pick their brain for hours several times a week. I mean, I'm talking like near billionaires, not quite billionaires, but near, and being able to have them as, I would say, mentors for years, and that really helped shape the way I look at business, the way I conduct business. And so you may have, like you said, they may have an idea, or you may have an idea, and then you go and you start talking and you start thinking and you start bouncing ideas, and by the time it's finished, it's something completely different, but it's 10 times better than the original.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's how some of the greatest things, some of the greatest ideas come to be, is somebody had a spark and or a little seed, and they planted it, and then by the time it got to where it was going to grow, it was a whole different plant.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the way it just, as you think about it, things change.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, I love what you're saying here. I love what you're saying. I mean, you are an inspiration, especially with, and I'm not even going to call it a disability because you're saying that you're leading a better quality of life. I can only imagine before, to literally grind down a whole bone, you were in a lot of pain. You
Yeah.
were
There were,
hurting.
so one of my jokes is that and this happened. I mean, I would see people, we live right by a walking trail, and I would see people with prosthetics that were more mobile than I was. And so I would actually, especially when the pain got bad enough, I go, I just wish I could chop the dang thing off. And then surprise, here we are. It's chopped off.
Well, I can relate to a couple things you've said. I'm big into to being in the gym. I mean, I've been working out in the gym consistently for 22 years. And I mean, that's what my degree was in. That's, I have a passion for it. For training, for helping people. I'm very good when it comes to the human body, muscles, musculature, muscular imbalances, all that kind of stuff. And so several years back, I was lunging across the gym. I'm big into bodybuilding. I'm a pretty big guy. So several years ago, I was lunging across the gym with 125-pound dumbbells in each hand, and I got across the gym, put the weight down, coming back, I tear my ACL and meniscus, tear it right off the bone, coming back in. So I have to have surgery. So then several years later, and it was from all the running. I used to do long distance running. I was about almost 100 pounds less worth of muscle than I am now, and because I did long distance running, and I really tore up my knees doing all that running. So I tore the ACL on the other knee, and I go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Man, you're missing cartilage. It's not even worth repairing your ACL because you need a complete knee replacement." He said, "But I am going to recommend that you wait as long as you can stand the pain." He said, "I've done it on people that have less damage than you." He said, "But I'm going to recommend you wait because I'm only 40. I'll be 45 this year." And he said this 2 years ago. He said, "I'm going to recommend that you wait." He said, "Because they're only good for 25 years. So you need to wait until you're as old as possible to get it." Well, me, I go to the gym, I train to stabilize the muscles, And actually, the knee that needs surgery works better than the knee that's had surgery. So, I'm like, if I can go without it, just going to, as long as I can go, I'm going to go. So I understand, trying
Yeah.
to train around injuries, having injuries, things like that. Absolutely. And I'm just happy that you are finally getting some relief and able to get around better than you were before.
Yeah. It's, I tell people that I expected the best and pretty much the best has happened. I mean, I was back to training dogs in 3.5 months and now I'm doing whatever I want.
That's wonderful news, man. I
So,
love
so
to
yeah.
hear, I love to hear, success stories. I love to
Yeah.
hear success stories. And
And
that's a
it's
great,
attitude. I mean, the better you, and I'm not saying that things aren't going to happen. I mean, I had one last Christmas. And I still have this little nerve on the end of my stump that is just, if it hits anything, it's kind of on fire. I mean, it's like getting a hot shot on the tip of your stump. I mean, I'd, ow, 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 I would hop on one foot and,
can they not deaden it?
so I haven't gone that far yet. All we had to do is change the shape of my prosthetic
Okay.
to make it to where that doesn't hit.
Okay.
But it took me off my feet for a couple of weeks. Well, maybe not a couple of weeks, but let's just say a week where I was on like arm crutches or in a wheelchair. And once I got to the doctor, it was calmed down because we had made the changes on my prosthetic. And I just told the doctor, I says, let's just let the sleeping dog lie. I don't want to wake it up. And so it hasn't come back. But if I wanted to tap on it enough, I could make it fire, and I just don't want to do it. I just leave it
Well, if it
alone.
happens again, I mean, I would definitely ask them because I don't think it's a huge process to deaden a nerve. I don't
They
think
can
at the end of it.
if they can hit it, if they can hit it right with a syringe, they can deaden it. One of the reasons they don't like to do that is because they want you to feel abnormalities. Because if they deaden too many of the nerves and then you
Okay.
get a sore that you can't feel, now you have a sore that you didn't realize was there,
That goes too
and you get
far.
an
Okay.
infection. And
Gangrene.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's one of the things that they will do. They can also go in and so it's usually the nerve gets into a little ball, a little tiny ball
Uh,
and then that ball starts to get hit, and they can go in and they can cut out the ball, and then you just have another nerve that's still there, that's still live, but the ball's gone, which is causing the problem. And so that will help things. But that's also a process I didn't, because then you're starting all over again with a new prosthetic and so I'm just like, let's just let this thing lie. And if it comes back to bother me, then we'll deal with it then. But I'm not saying I didn't have problems, but I didn't have big problems. I mean, things went as good as could be expected when you're getting your leg chopped off.
oh my God, absolutely. I had something called a trigger finger. Then they did before surgery. Hopefully, I won't have to have it. We're gonna see. But they had to do a cortisol shot. And it's one of the most painful ones they do. But they got me to get this stuff called diclofenac. It's a
Yeah.
topical gel. Have you heard of it? It's like an anti-inflammatory gel that you
Yeah.
put on. I wonder if that would help with any kind of inflammation you got down there going on.
So I actually take the pill. I
Oh, you
have a
take the pill.
diclofenac pill. Yeah. That I take.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Well, you have actually taken us, through I mean, you answered every one of the questions I had. I'm not going to say they were in chronological order that I had them in, but you answered every question I had. So, not quite every question. I do have a couple more questions, but before we get to that question, um, what you had mentioned something to me about having something for 25 lucky listeners who go check out your link in the description page of this podcast episode. Can you tell these 25 lucky listeners who go check out the link a little bit, give them a little taster of what's going on?
Yeah. They'll be able to get my download of the 25 successful side hustles for 2025.
Okay.
And that they put in their information. It shoots them that list. And like I said, it's just a memory jogger. It's
Okay.
just to get them thinking, to get them start to thinking about, oh, you could monetize that. That makes money. And it just gets them thinking. It gets them started down the path of monetizing their mindset.
Oh, absolutely. Cool, cool. Okay, okay. And then, I'm going to let them know that anything they missed out, they need to go to the description and they can check out the Side Hustle YouTube channel. They can check out the Amputee YouTube channel, which I was going to ask you, what exactly is that? Like, what does, I know what the Side Hustle YouTube, where you do webinars and that kind of thing, but what is the Amputee YouTube channel? What does that consist of?
So I had a lot of time between my diagnosis and my surgery, and I went down the YouTube channel and it didn't have all the answers to my questions, or I went down the YouTube rabbit hole
It is a
and it
rabbit hole.
didn't.
I've been down there.
And I saw people like me who were sharing their experiences, but they had no like clinical credibility. And then I would go to prosthetist channels and oh, I couldn't stand to watch them. I wanted to poke my eye out. And so what I'm trying to do is mix. I've partnered with my prosthetist and I'm trying to mix a little bit of fun with some credibility behind it, because your doctors, your prosthetists, your people with credibility sometimes aren't the most fun to listen to. And so I'm trying to make that happen. We'll see if I'm successful as I continue to go on. Maybe you'll have some help for
And
me on that when we get off here.
I think I do. I actually think I do. So here's a question for you. If you could give one piece of advice to a new entrepreneur, what would it be?
Can I give two?
Yes, you can, because I would actually give two. Go ahead.
So first, the hardest thing is the first step.
Yes.
So take that first step out there, even though you don't know what there is to see. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. You just don't know. And you're not going to know until you try. And you don't want to be stuck saying, well, what if? Let's go back to the Top Golf thing. And what if I was the one that brought Top Golf to America? How would my life be different? I don't know. I'm still sitting here thinking, well, what if? Okay, so that was I didn't take that first jump because I was scared. Okay. Number two. Well, let's say it's number three. Number two is mentors are going to help you out. They're going to help you get there faster. I have a quick story about when I had a horse all growing up. And when I was 7, my horse was George. It wasn't my horse. It was my dad's horse that was a hand-me-down from my brother. And I said, Dad, when would George be my horse? He's like, George is your horse. What are you talking about? No, when is George going to be my horse? He says, well, when you can put the saddle on by yourself. And we're not talking no dinky English saddle. We're talking an adult Western saddle that's heavier than me as I was that 7-year-old kid. I was excited, man. I tied George up to the back pole, went and grabbed a seat from the table. I dragged the saddle over to that seat. I stood up on the seat. I reached it up and just had enough pressure to push George over. I tried for 5 years before I finally got that saddle on. Now, several years ago, I thought I was going to be a poker player and make money, have a side hustle making money playing poker. and, and I started, and I would play poker online every day, 5, 6, 7, 10 hours a day, depending on what my time was. After about 6 or 8 months, I looked at my account and I was positive $500. And I'm just like, that equals like 20 cents an hour. That's not going to pay the bills. And so I gave up on my side hustle poker career. So what made the difference between 5 years of trying to put the saddle on George and 8 months of trying to do a poker side hustle? I had someone putting the saddle on George whenever I couldn't do it. My dad, my brother. I had people that were showing me how to do it, were teaching me how to do it, were helping me through it. Now, I did study poker books more than I studied my accounting books in college, but I didn't have that side hustle. Now, I didn't have that mentor helping me with that side hustle. Now the results could have been the same. My mentor could have looked at me and said, "Dude, you're not going to make it as a poker player. You might as well give it up." Or he could have helped me and I could have been more successful quickly. Either way, that mentorship would have shortened the learning curve on whether I should be a poker player or shouldn't be a poker player. And so just having that helps. And then lastly, I told you earlier, don't overlook the things that are right there. Have you ever heard the story Acres of Diamonds?
I don't know. You have to tell me, and I can tell you if I've heard it. I don't know
Okay,
if I've
so
heard it called that.
it's about a Persian farmer. His name was Ali Afed. He sold his farm and he went in search of diamonds. He died broke, alone in a foreign land. He never found his riches. The new owner of his farm was watering his camel in a brook. He saw this weird rock. He picked it up. It was a diamond.
In
Lo and
his farm he
behold,
sold. Yeah.
his whole farm is full of diamonds, acres of diamonds. Well, my family, we have a similar story. Instead of acres of diamonds, it's called acres of pig poop. So in my small town, there were more pigs than people. Because of us, Dad was the pig farmer, like I said earlier. At any one time on our farm, we had somewhere around 19,000 pigs.
Have you heard of Smithfield? Smithfield pork?
Uh, I believe so.
I grew up as a kid and worked at Smithfield packing plant. I grew up in a small town surrounded by pig farms. The worst smell, though, is not the pig farms. It's that truck that comes around once a week to pick up the dead hogs.
Oh
Because the
yeah,
hog's been dead for days. If you ever get
yeah,
behind it, you don't want to get behind it.
that's true. And so we had 2,000 sows. For those who don't
Good
know what a
sized pig
sow
farm.
is, it's a mama pig. A mama pig can give birth 2.5 times a year. On our farm, we average 9.97 pigs per litter. For mathematicians out there, let's just say
That's
that
what
equals
at
a lot
20,000.
of pig poop.
Yeah.
And we had 3 man-made ponds that we would call the lagoons. They were settling ponds where the sewer would go to. And it'd go this one year, this one the next year, and we just rotate them. We rotated them for years. And when Dad was in his 60s, it was in the early 90s, he decided it was time to shut down the pig operation and go in search of his next acres of diamonds. He died at age 81. He never found his riches, his next big thing. The owners of our farm, well, we sold about 2 years after his death, we sold the farm for $235,000, which was a fair price for the property. The new owners of our farm were leveling those man-made ponds that had been dry on top for years. But the heavy grader was going across the ponds and broke through the crust into this black muck. It sunk up to its belly in black muck. They called in experts to come see what was going on, see what it was.
Oil.
It was black oil. Yeah, that's right. They offered the new owners of our farm $2,000 a ton for the stuff. That's $1 a pound for old pig poop.
What is it? What was it really oil? What was it?
No, it was old pig poop that had been sitting underground for years, just fermenting. Makes great fertilizer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The farm that we sold for $235,000 was now worth over $1 million. 500 tons of old pig poop was acres of diamonds right under my dad's nose. So now your listeners, I want to ask them a question.
Okay.
Where are your acres of diamonds? Are you on the verge of discovery, or are you overlooking them like Alia Fed and my dad? They could be right in your own backyard, right within your grasp, or in my dad's case, right under your nose. They may even look like a pile of pig poop. Be aware of what's around you and don't be afraid to take chances on those things that are right there. Right there in your own backyard. Be aware. Ask questions.
That's some pretty Pretty stellar advice. Pretty stellar advice, I would have to say. Okay. Is there anything else that you can think of that we've left out? Anything else that you would like to leave with the audience?
Just like you mentioned, don't be afraid to go into the unknown, to step out there and do it. One of the biggest pitfalls you can run into in starting a business or a side hustle, starting the wrong one. And so why not start one that you're already doing, something that you're already doing that you want to do. Like you said, if you're doing something you love, you'll never work in a day in your life. If you're already doing it, then you're going to do it better.
Can I add something in for the audience that I think is something that makes a lot of people fearful, that I think is a huge mistake, and it's not just for lower income Americans, it's also for Americans who make a higher income as well. Maybe not, in the millions a year, but in the hundreds of thousands, six figures, low six figures. I think a big problem with Americans is they live what I call hand to mouth. They live up what I say above their means.
Yeah.
They have too much charged on the credit card. They don't have enough in savings. They don't, they live like people that make 60,000 a year live like they make 100,000 a year. People that make 100,000 a year live like they make 200,000 a year. And
Yeah.
it gets them in a position to where if something breaks on the car, it's like the end of the world. So to do a side hustle means their only option, if they have room on a credit card, is to put it on a high interest credit card. So, what I would say to the audience, too, that can ease your mind is to just take a step back and don't be afraid to live within your means.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because, when I was opening up businesses in Charlotte, I opened up several successful corporations in Charlotte. And I drove what I called the gray tank, and it was an old beat up 2000 Dodge Neon that I had put the stereo system in. And I'm a big guy. I was running the cables through the firewall, got stuck under the daggum, under the dash, running the thing because of my shoulders. It's this old car. It squeaks when you turn the wheel, and I wanted a Porsche. I wanted a Porsche, and everybody's like, "Why don't you get a Porsche?" I had these businesses I was opening, and I'm like, "I'm not gonna buy a Porsche until my until I'm bringing home 10 times what a Porsche cost." Now, most people will go and pay, for a car what they make in a year, or more to finance a car. But I wasn't going to do it until I was bringing in 10 times that, and that's what I did. I stuck to that. I drove, even though I was making lots of money. I was driving what I called the gray tank. And when I went to the Porsche dealership, he's like, "Don't you want to test drive?" And I said, "Do you see that old clunker over there, that gray thing?" I said, do you think the Porsche drives worse than that does? I don't need to test drive it. I've got a meeting I got to be at in 2 hours. Can you have the paperwork done and it gassed up and me out of here in 2 hours? And that's how I bought my first Porsche. So I would say for years, me and my ex-wife, we shared a car. I thought I had truly made it when I stopped having to take the calculator to Walmart to do the grocery shopping. So don't be afraid to step. I mean, we turned coupon clipping into an art. Like we would get $200 worth of groceries with those triple coupons. I don't even know if they do them anymore, but for
Yeah.
30 or $40, and we get two
Yeah.
hundred dollars worth of groceries. So we turned it into an art. So don't be afraid to step back and limit your spending. So when that opportunity knocks, you can answer.
Yeah. You need to be ready financially, mentally, and
Yeah.
all the other things that are out there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have enjoyed having you on so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule, as I know you have a busy schedule with all your side hustles, with everything you got going on. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come out here and be on this show. And I'm going to thank you, because we have thoroughly enjoyed having you as a guest. And to all you guys and gals out there, stay safe and tune in Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to our regular show where truth meets every corner of the news. Until then, we will talk to you later.